We are back for always another game podcast. Today, we are going inside a very unique mind, not only due to the fact that he played badminton nationally and for counties, I believe, as well. But yeah, we're going to go deep inside this mind and share a little bit more about the stories. But today we have on Tom Woodhams. Tom, how's it going?
I'm good. Yeah, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it. So, yeah, I'm excited to talk about everything badminton and mind related.
Yeah, what I've loved so much so far about this podcast is we haven't had a mixture, but we have had more solo sport athletes on so far. And also what I love is we haven't had a huge amount just yet of kind of the big sports, you know, the footballs and your rugbies and stuff. We've had a lot of kind of niche area stuff, which I love because it does show that there is so many different sports out there. And who doesn't love playing badminton? Find me somebody that doesn't love playing badminton, even if they're not very good at it, because it's good fun, right?
Yeah, massively. I think like people think it's like one of them games which is you're pity patty out over the net, but obviously it's only one of the only sports that men and women compete together at the same time as well, especially with mixed doubles. So yeah, it's one of the fastest racket sports. So people forget that because it's just think they're just patting around with Doris over the net, but it's not like that.
Yeah, I love it. I love watching. Obviously, it's one of those things, one of those events that you watch at the Olympics, right? There's always certain ones that people love watching, and you're right. It is so fast. So some of those players are fascinating to watch their reaction and their agility. So yeah, thank you for coming on. I can't wait to dig in because I say this is going to be a lot more than just badminton. But to start off with, before we go delve in too quickly, I'd love for you to share with the audience, who is Tom Woodhams?
Who is Tom Woodhams? Good question. So I work for Hawkeye, obviously sport and technology, technical recruiter, ADHD, and yeah, pretty much LinkedIn addict, part in all essence. But yeah, that's kind of like me as a quick summary.
Yeah. Now the Hawkeye is pretty cool because as you've shared with us, you do a lot of work with ice hockey, which is obviously a big passion of mine. Is there like particular clubs? I'm assuming it's the elite league teams that are kind of focusing more on it. Is there any particular clubs or is it all across the board?
All across the board. So yeah, it's obviously it's 23 out of the 28 major sports that we provide support and technology for. Not just obviously ice hockey, NBA, NFL, ATP tennis, badminton, football. So all the VAR equipment, all the smart line technology. So yeah, I don't want to get too many boos because I'm not a massive football fan myself. But yeah, it's I'm not a massive football fan. If I'm being pretty honest, but yeah, can't be biased.
Yeah, I love so you kind of you're still heavily involved in sport then in a way. Has that been something that you kind of wanted to do, or have you fallen into that?
It's a really good question. I think like I never thought like definitely working like at a sporting company is like one of the dreams, and working here it kind of has sort of fell on my lap, luckily, to work for a company. But yeah, some of the perks, like I'm going to hit on centre court at the All England Nationals on the 16th of March, which will be the semi-finals of all the best. So like I'm going to try out the technology whilst on court and having a hit just to make sure that the rigs are all set up correctly. And that's kind of like one of my dreams, to go on centre court and sort of hit a few shuttles. So that's been like a dream for me. So that's coming up in next month. So yeah, I'm lucky, if I'm being honest, to be able to work in an environment where it's like one of my favorite sports as well.
Yeah, it is fascinating because I think a lot of athletes don't want to actually let it go when they play. They want to carry on sport forever. You know, when I was youngster, I was going to play forever. I was going to still be playing in mid-40s, going to 50s. And it's funny how it changed because my sport now is really my boys. They're kind of early years of playing. But, you know, to be able to continue that on and, like I said, live a dream now, of getting to play on that centre court, doing something you also love doing after sport, which is, that's pretty exciting. But where did this journey all begin for you? Because badminton, I wouldn't say it's an unknown sport. I think a lot of people know it, and they say they play with it. Where was the influence to get you started in that sport?
I was probably doing my mum's head in, because it was the summer holidays, 6 weeks holiday, and obviously undiagnosed ADHD at that point, and kind of just didn't know what to do with myself. Like, I was always sitting in playing the computer, being technical, and just like wanting to play computer games all the time. And I think my mum was kind of like at the point of sort of worrying about me, because I was kind of a shell in the big butt world. And she's like, look, I've signed you up for this badminton thing. It's a 6-week like holiday camp, and like it'll get you out of the house, get you active. And then I think it was about like 12, and then I went to this sort of badminton camp, and then I started just like really enjoying it, like coming back. I can't remember too much when I was younger, like going there, but I remember like being really good, and then seeing like some really good players. I remember the coach, her name was Sheila Way, and there was a guy there that I was like, oh, he's really good, big smash, and kind of just evolved from there, because it just like anything with an ADHD, anything you do that you love is addictive, and it's not like you're want to start off small. You start off wanting the best rackets, the best coaches, and all that sort of stuff, which obviously probably go into it at some point. But I remember going to the summer club, and it just took me at that point.
So was it just specific for badminton, or was it multi-sport?
Yes. No, just badminton. It was a 6-week badminton summer club for the holidays, and there's probably around about 18 people. I remember it was in Portslade, which is in Brighton, it's many years going there, and then obviously playing tournaments. But it was just badminton, and I just liked it and just got on with it at that point.
What do you think then led you to the yes? Because if you weren't doing anything, and you were just kind of gaming and that, I could in a way understand if somebody said, right, you're going to go to a football camp, or what was it about badminton that you went, actually, you know what, Mum, I'm going to do that?
I don't know. My mum messaged me. I'm not a massive football fan. It's never really interested me. Like, I played like as a keeper, because I just like saving the balls and jumping around. I think that's probably more of an energy thing. But it never took my interest. And I think when my mum said about badminton, I think I was at that point where my mum was trying to search loads of different things, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And I was probably a little bit geeky. I think, if I'm being brutally honest, back then I was probably like ginger hair, little quiff, glasses. I don't think my sort of stereotypical vibe was football and rugby. So I think my mum was trying to kind of accommodate what I would think I'd like, or something that's indoors. I like being outdoors, but so she said badminton, and I think it was more of a like go on then sort of dragged me there, and then obviously it just sort of evolved from there.
Yeah. So what was it particularly once you got into it? What was it about badminton? I know we will dig into a little bit on the kind of the ADHD, and you mentioned the addictive side. We'll kind of talk about that in a minute. But what do you think it was about it that you went, actually, I love this, I'm going to stick with this?
I think one of the main things was the smash, really, where you can absolutely wallop the shuttle tenfold. And I think it was just the kind of like the movement, like jump. Again, I think it was more of an energy, like burning loads of energy, like going in there like a headless chicken, and I could literally burn up all the energy there. And obviously wanted to start beating people that I sort of thought was quite good. And it was just definitely just something different. If I'm being honest, I've always been quite quirky in the way of the way I look, the way I dress. And I think this was like a sport where it was quite quirky. Not many people did play badminton, and it's kind of like one of them things where, oh, well, I quite enjoy this, and not everyone's playing the classic. I wanted to be different. That's probably the best way to put it. I just wanted to be different to your stereotypical football, rugby, whatever. I just wanted to be different, and racket sports has always been my thing, along with tennis.
Yeah, I love how your mum and yourself took the time to actually think about it a little bit. Like, what is it that you might like? Is there a certain quality or a certain skill element? Because I do think there are parents out there that are quick to just jump into things like your mainstream sports because that's what it should be. Whereas actually, Michael Phelps was a fascinating story. His coach went, you have the perfect body to be a swimmer. You have the perfect limbs and all this. And obviously there was more to his success than how he was genetically built. But there is that element that, okay, well, if you do like the quirk of it, or you love the smashing, then you're more likely to enjoy the sport and continue it on. So I love that you kind of went down that route. Where did badminton take you?
To the moon and back, really. If I'm being brutally honest. It took me, it started becoming just like, yet again, like being addictive, wanting to play that all the time. Couldn't get enough of it. That's 5 days a week. It then took me up to like number 4 in the county for Sussex, under 15s, played under 17s, under 21s, private coaching. My mum, my dad take me to tournaments every weekend. I think it got to a point where I was probably playing 4 or 5 times a week, plus additional coaching on top of that. And that's all I did. And I was with it was, I think for me, at that young age, I think with any like sort of father figure or sorry, my dad or like your mum or a family friend, you want them to win. That's pretty much there. And playing tournaments at where I started it, where I used to have like the Portslade Open, which is obviously a county restricted people. And I think I played someone who was like number 2 in the county, and like I took him to 3 sets, and it was like suddenly then, who's this guy taking this person to 3 sets? And I kind of it was kind of like these people breathed it. They were born into badminton. And badminton's very, very cliquey but it's one of the weirdest sports that everyone knows everyone. It's very cliquey. You have to be in with the people, as in the higher standard people, to even get a whiff of playing Sussex. So you have to then feel like you have to pay for coaching to even get your name or to get even selected for Sussex, because you feel like you have to pay that sort of money. Otherwise, you're not going to get a chance. And it's who you know. It's not based on figures. It's kind of like that clickiness, which has made it sport. Personally, that sort of he said, she said kind of element. But it's taken me to obviously being top 100 in the UK for men's singles. That was last year, playing all the tournaments. So it's something I enjoy and I'm good at, and I like in a less arrogant way. Like I'm pretty good, and it's kind of one of them sort of proud I'm good moments. Not I'm good, I'm better than you. It's more of a like I'm proud of what I've achieved over the sort of course of my childhood. But there could have been elements that been better, where it has been chaotic and wanted to snap rackets and couldn't give a sort of shit about if I play anymore. But I think that's the sort of time for me, and obviously growing up and being older now. I'm 36 in May. Do you know what I mean? I've got the needs of a 16-year-old anymore.
Chicken.
Yes, I'm a spring chicken. Yeah. When you wake up in the morning, you need an extra minute to get out of bed. You then soon realise. But yeah, it's taken me to different places with badminton, and I think like it's always been nice to sort of show off a bit, because I've always been that kind of person wanting to be good at something, and then someone go, oh, you're really good. And again, that comes in back down to the ADHD, because you want to be liked. You want people to like you because you're coming over to, oh, you're really good. So it's been a bit of a big old challenge in the journey.
Yeah. And I do wonder sometimes if it is smaller, more niche sports, because when you were saying there about it's not what you know, it's who you know. There was an element of that in my sport as well. You see it, and I'm still kind of within the community now, and not much has changed. Does it do it good? It's difficult to say, because unless you're going to see it from the other angle. But yeah, I think sometimes in niche sports, as much as the community can be great, and I'm sure you might have experienced the times where badminton came together and was supportive, and you knew who you could call upon. But there is this other side where a lot of parents might be jumping in to the coaches and kind of helping, their kids on a little bit, which is difficult. And I know we were talking just briefly before we came on to record, and you were saying along the lines kind of like, you don't know where you would be if you didn't have badminton. So it sounds like it's played a huge part. But where did that comment come from?
I think it's kind of having something to play towards, because obviously exercise for me is like my medicine. I have to be active. Otherwise, it's a down slippery slope for me. Like dark thoughts, like being like worthless. And I think having something to focus on and fixated, like when you are becoming quite good and you're playing these tournaments, it's a really good feeling. Like, do you know what I mean? You're winning tournaments and like you're getting to rounds where people where you couldn't beat before, but with the training you're being able to beat them and stuff like that. So I think if I didn't have badminton, what sport would I play? I'd probably be a hermit, if I'm being brutally honest. I think it has taught me not just badminton in general, but being able to communicate in bigger environments, being able to talk to different people, to kind of build confidence. Like if I think about it now, going to the tournaments and there's loads of different people there, and obviously sometimes that could be 50, 60 other players, you kind of start then seeing the same players there each week or in each tournament. And then you not start building relationships and confidence and like exchange numbers. So I think with any sport, when you are building communities, like it has taught me like to come out my shell a little bit. And I don't know if that's because I've grown as a person, but as a child, it's quite nerve wracking speaking to new people in general. Anyway, especially when you're fighting, the good players are. You go into a tournament and you can go bomb, bomb, bomb. These are the 3 or 4 people that I need to be up that are the best, and they all want to be. Everyone wants to go up to them, like speak to them and stuff. Oh, I saw you at this tournament. You can see it's whole different presence changes when the best players come in, and you're like, I want to be part of that. I want to get to know them, want to like them, and want them to like me. And when it comes to obviously, like you said, like I've been in a different place. I probably would have been a hermit. I probably would have been sitting indoors. Probably would have been a lot bigger, weight, food, and never want to interact with the wider world.
Yeah, I call it accidental intent. Like the fact that you just one day you went, yeah, you know what, I'll go to that camp. I'll please my mum or whatever it was, and it's just taken you on this incredible journey. And I feel like it's so important for any parent listening out there, or anybody just that might be struggling activity wise, go and try something. Think of something maybe you might like, because you just really never know what you're going to get into. And the fact that, you feel like if you didn't have that, it could have gone completely the other way. It's exciting that you fell upon it. It's exciting that you got that opportunity to do it. And you mentioned earlier that you were undiagnosed. I think you said around about 12. You're very vocal on about ADHD and supporting it with your content and what you do on LinkedIn, and I think it is a topic that needs to be raised more. And I love what you're doing. When did you know or have a good idea, and when were you kind of diagnosed?
Good question. So my mum actually took me to the doctors when I was 11. So she actually took me to the doctors because some of my behavioural stuff was at school. So like easily distracted, always talking, can't concentrate, like class clown, trying to be funny all the time. And I think that then goes down to like wanting to be liked by people and people wanting to like me. I think that's definitely stuck by me at an early age, just wanting people to like me. That's to fit in. That's fitting in. I wasn't diagnosed. I was actually diagnosed. When was I diagnosed? When I was 30. So it'd be 2000. So it'd be 5 years this May. I've been diagnosed with ADHD, and I think the behaviour, erratic behaviour, drinking, drugs, to be real, and going in the wrong crowd has an effect to you, because the people you're hanging around with has an influence in what what goes on, and you kind of, yet again, you're trying to fit in with people, and obviously if you don't fit in, you won't be invited out. So you kind of sometimes end up being a sheep, not a shepherd, and you go along with it. You might not want to do it, but because you want to be liked, yet again, it kind of, it's only recently made sense in the last 2-3 years who I'm actually about and who I am, and that's taken a lot of time to work out what my purpose is and what aligns with me. Normally, with some of the things I say, I probably would have never said that online, not in a bad way, but the stuff that I actually believe in with either work or how to do my actual job or how other people perceive it. If I don't agree with it, normally I would have just said nothing. But if I don't agree with something now, it's not in a sort of, I say it in the right way, communicate. I don't agree with that because of X, Y, and Z. But I think it came down to, as I said, like going back with the ADHD is with the badminton and being addictive and wanting the best rackets. Like it could be a new Yonex racket that's come out and it says this is the latest technology on the racket, and suddenly my brain's going, oh my god, this is the latest technology, this is going to make me play better.
Yeah,
let's order 4. Like my mum and dad must have been crucified with money because we weren't well off. We weren't well off because badminton's quite a well off sport. If you think about it, the coaching and stuff. And my mum and dad not well off. Do you know what I mean? They're in a council house and have been for the last 30 years. So me consistently demanding, want, selfish, was all for me. But I only realise that now over the period of time, obviously with the ADHD and how I was.
Yeah. You know what scares me or worries me a little bit is when you're talking there, you're talking almost kind of like how we're all raised in terms of kind of society, where we're taught that we've got to fit in. You know, we're driven towards the new exciting, you know, equipment. And when I'm listening to, you know, what now you can see what was going on, it's no surprise that so many people are undiagnosed, because it's almost normal, right, when you're growing up for those things to happen. So what do you think the changing point for you was, that like actually, you know, this isn't kind of this kind of standard society stuff, this is actually, you know, I have ADHD here?
It was just the erratic behavior, if I'm being brutally honest, never knowing my limits. Like it was apparent, like certain meltdowns, stress, quick tempered. And it really just came from the way I was. I just bundles of energy, just constantly, just couldn't concentrate on one thing. And it just, more around my behavior, if I'm being brutally honest, like going out drinking and someone be on 1 drink, I'd be on my 4th, and there was no limit. It would be all or nothing. And that then obviously presumed to obviously the badminton. It wasn't badminton just a few times a week. It was 5 times a week. I was having the best coach, £40 an hour. I was having the PT, 4 rackets, getting them restrung every 2 weeks. All the clothes had to be matching. Yonex top to match the bottoms, to match the socks, to match the trainers. That's a £500 outfit plus the rackets. That's over nearly £1,000. So it wasn't. I can tell. The thing about it now it was just excessive. There wasn't a boundary. Every tournament had to be at every tournament, regardless of who took me to the tournament. I had to be there, and it was like a life or death matter, and that's it. And then in tournaments and stuff like that, like the amount of cussing that I did to myself, because you put so much pressure on yourself because you are training at that level, but you're doing everything, all the coaching, you're losing points. You're thinking, why am I losing points? You then go back to yourself. You're not worthy. You can't do this, and you can't even move. You put all this weight on, and it gets a hold of you because you're trying to hit a top performance every time. And I just don't think rushing my points. I wouldn't breathe in between points. I would just go into the next rally and I'll be 3-4 points down, making mistakes, and then just getting in a hole that I've already lost the game. So I think with the ADHD, it came at an earlier age, but you can tell with people's behaviour and what they do, because it's probably it's the only thing that's stuck with me for the rest of my whole sort of my life, because obviously with ADHD is people change sports or change hobbies just like an instance like that. So it could be hockey 1 week, badminton the next week, table tennis the next week.
Yeah.
So it was just my behaviour really, and that obviously led into not just the sporting world, but into my personal life, and how I was as a person.
So, you were only diagnosed in your adult life, but your mum saw something at 11.
Mm-hmm.
How were you supported through all those challenges of mood swings and excessive behavior and addictive behavior? How were you supported, even though it was undiagnosed, that whole time you were playing?
I try not to get emotional about it because it's tough, but I didn't have any support. No support, whatever. It didn't raise any alarm bells. It did raise alarm bells with my parents because of erratic behaviour and how I acted. But if I'm being honest, I didn't have any support, and I think that's why the content I write on LinkedIn and when I do talk about ADHD, one, it helps me. Two, it offers, like, probably had about 20 or 30 people message me saying thanks for helping me. Like, I think it kind of goes back to being a better person, like wanting to help people. I think a lot of people go, oh yeah, you just want to help people in recruitment. I generally do. Like, people go, oh, I don't make fees on placements I make. I'm work directly for Hawkeye, so I'm not on an agency. So but then it ties in with the ADHD. Like, I've started writing like some tips in the last 20-30 for ADHD Awareness Month. I've wrote like 30 pieces of content around not just employees, but how to like manage a more neurodiverse staff and certain things. So I think you get to a point in your life where you just want to give back to all the things that you've taken in your life, and how you've acted with other people and stuff that I could have done better in my life. And even with the badminton, I probably didn't need all the sessions that I took on, but I felt like I needed to go to that next level. I probably wish I started at an earlier age, because I probably would have played at an England standard, if not being playing for England, if I played at an earlier age, like 5 or 4 or 5, and done that progression. But what happened is, because I was so behind when I started, everyone else is probably 2 or 3 years behind me, above me, if not more. So you kind of up the ante to do all this stuff to try and catch up to everyone else to be at that level, because everyone was respected, everyone was known, and that's comes back to, like, I wanted to be known. I wanted to be known for someone coming in. He wants to be one of the top guys because everyone wants to be going around him, speaking to him, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to be that person that everyone came up to. Sounds stupid, but it just
not
it's
at all.
The chase.
Not at all. Because I think now, if you look at it, you are becoming known for something. I've come across you because of something that you are passionate about, you are speaking about, and I did my post this morning about that. Everything that you do in life happens for that reason. All of those times that you've got, that you smashed your racket, and, all those times that, you needed somebody there, but there wasn't. That's formed who you are right now and allowing you to get to do what you do right now. And we often do forget that everything that we've gone through, whether it's in sport or just general in life, has led to this moment. And we can do good with that. And I feel like, raising your voice and supporting others in what you do, has been that stepping block to where you are now. And like this podcast, all it's needing to do is to help one person. That's all it needs to do. And we get the opportunity to do that. And I think that's, and I think sport has, offered you a lot. I'm sure there were some greats as well as some lows. But one thing you haven't quite shared yet is you had a little break. You had a little break from badminton to take on something else, which is in a way classified as a sport, because I've had a bodybuilder come on. So why don't you tell us a little bit more what happened there? What made you step away from this sport that you were so addicted with?
Yeah, well, it's the case of being 23 or 24. I started working in, I started working into like sales and like insurance sales, and there was a place downstairs which was called BBZ, which is a like a weightlifting protein like stuff place, there was a massive guy in there who was like ex-European IBFF like champion. His name was Mark Boyce. And yeah, I think at that point in your life, like 23, 24, you like you got good people. Like, well, at that point, you think obviously the people you're going out with are popular. Everyone was going to the gym. Like, well, let's be real. Like, wanted to meet more females. Wanted to be like, obviously, I was a ginger kid, like skinhead. And I just think like everyone was going to the gym at that point, and like people saying, "Oh, they're getting like massive," and I think it was a phase of wanting to be big at that point. Like yet again for the attention, just wanted to be like well known, and it got to a point where like I ended up doing something called SD Matrix, which was a testosterone booster from tablets. Did that for a while, and then I was seeing a little bit, but I wasn't seeing much difference. So I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna go on steroids. And then I knew the guy downstairs did steroids because obviously he's done it from before. And then I was like, how can you help me out with steroids? So I ended up taking equipoise and test, and then went on to Masteron, which is like an even stronger steroid. And then I used to go down there. He used to inject me out the back. I used to have to go to I haven't told many people about this, but yeah, I had to go to the clinic where you a heroin user or would get needles. So that was a bit like sort of different from going in there to get green to withdraw the fluid, and then you flick out, take that off, and then obviously you inject with the blue, which is a shorter needle. And I ended up just going in there every bloody like. There was no like one shot. There was a double shot each week, and then I ended up getting massive. Like I started like I was benching like 170, and then like then I'd like dumbbells on 55 kilograms on each side, free weights, doing like 6 reps. I was like an animal. And then I used to come out of the gym, and I used to go instead of like coming out of the gym thinking, oh my god, I'm knackered. I used to go back in the gym like later on that day and do like legs and stuff. You couldn't feel the burn. Like you're like this animal, but it just I look like an idiot. And when I started trying to play badminton again, I couldn't move because with obviously your arms and stuff, like my shoulders were so big that when I tried to rotate and play like a shot, my shoulders were so big. Did I show you a photo?
I don't think you have, no.
Oh, I need to send you the photo. I've got a photo on. I'll send you the photo after this. Yeah, you'd have to show it. I don't care. But like my shoulders are so big, I couldn't move the racket, and especially with badminton, you need to be round the head, and obviously, like movement wise, is obviously key. Couldn't bloody move. I look idiot, and then I didn't cycle properly, so I ended up getting gynastria, which is I actually thought I had breast cancer of a male because my nipple was so inflamed. It was it looked disorientated when you saw it. So when I went into the doctors and obviously went for a scan, they said it was just gynastria, where the tissue and muscle was a build up, which is the chemical like estrogen. So then it releases, if there's so much testosterone sometimes and you pump it too much, it then produces estrogen, which is obviously the female hormone. And then I just at that point I just come off it. I just needed to, I think, because like I was drinking and I thought it was this character which like could take on anyone and turn me into a bit of a, so it turned me into someone I wasn't. Like that's not me. Like I think I can now look in the mirror as a human and go, I'm happy with who I am. But yeah, it's it took its toll on me.
Yeah, it's an area that I think a lot of people assume that goes on. You know, a lot of people that are big and in shape, you know, take testosterone boosters or steroids, but not many people will admit to it or talk about it. James Smith, don't know if you've ever come across James Smith, talks about it quite openly that he used to do it. And he, you know, he shares his story because it's used more than it isn't, I would say, in the bodybuilding world, and just kind of, and I get it when you tell your story about, you know, the addictive personality and wanting the best, and I could understand how you could fall into that, right? You start to see results, you start to feel invincible. I don't know if many people know, but you don't just take steroids and get big. The element of steroids is that you recover quicker, and like you said, you don't feel the burn, so you can train more. So you still got to put in the work, but then if you're lifting bigger weights and, oh my God, you know, those muscles are getting bigger, I can see, and again, especially if it was to attract females or to, you know, to be strong and stand out, I could see how you fell into that.
It was yeah, because people start going, oh my God, what you benching, or like, what you, oh, how, oh, you're well, like, you used to get the attention. Suddenly you're at this point where, like, you're 16 and a half stone. Like, I'm what, 5'10", so not small, but you're like this, like walking around, and everyone's coming up to you, like you get like more attention, and it just, yet again, wanting to be liked. It relates back to that, and people, like, you're training with bigger guys, you're training with big people, because obviously, and yet again, you're fitting in, you're getting asked by popular people at the gym if you want to train with them. And I think that's been the story of my life, is wanting to just fit in. I haven't got any brothers or sisters, so only child. And I think that's had a bit of an effect, not an effect, but like got a center of attention all the time. Like, it's all about me. And that's it. Yeah, it has that. It's had an effect on me throughout my life. Just wanting to be liked.
Yeah. So you had this scare. Was that enough just to get you to stop, or was there any kind of like adverse effects from stopping and coming off the steroids?
No, it took a while. It took me a couple of years for the Guy Master to go down.
Really?
They gave me, like, yeah, it's still, it's all right now, but it took a good few years. Yeah, no, like, massive effect on me. I don't know if it had a mental effect on me. I don't think it has. But yeah, it was kind of like, that was it was not knowing when to stop. And that's another thing with the ADHD, is like, you don't know your limits, and I could just pump steroids into me all week, and then I'd be wanting more. I don't know when the limit is until you have something seriously happen to you, or in a medical sort of environment where they're like saying, look, you need to stop. Because my mum was found, like, in my like cupboard at home. She found the brown bag, and she obviously knew that I was taking steroids, but with a brown bag with loads of needles on. Automatically, your parents are going to start going, what are you taking? But my mum and dad knew. They knew they thought I wasn't taking steroids. They just thought I was going to the gym a lot. But when mum found that bag, it was, I think she was heartbroken to see. My mum's sort of 76 this year. So there is obviously a different mindset, isn't it, from someone from maybe sort of between 40 and 50 parents, between now someone that's 70 and 80. Parents, completely different mindset. Like, be like, oh, Thomas, you don't need that. You don't, like, you know what your mum's like. It's that one, come here, like you are good looking, Thomas, and stuff like that. But I think there's a difference from your mum telling you and then someone else. But I think that's probably it.
Yeah. Now, say you did get out. You came off it, and you went back. You went back to playing badminton, and as you said a minute ago, it wasn't an easy start. So what was it? What was it that kind of went, okay, yeah, now I need to get back to what I love doing?
It was. I was with a girl at that point, and I was with someone, and that life took over, and like got cheated on, and the mum. Yeah, honestly, it was a really toxic relationship, being chucked out of the house and then told me to come back, moved everything out. And that's the same day. Honestly, when I tell people, don't believe me, but it's true. I moved all my stuff out in one day. 2 hours later, she asked me to move all my stuff back. And when I moved all my stuff back in one day, this is from Brighton to Three Bridges. I moved all my stuff back the same day. And then she said, where's that perfume you brought me? And I said, I sold it. I went back and sold it to my friend's sister, because obviously we just come back from holiday, and I brought some bits on the plane, and then she said, I don't want to be with you anymore. So I moved all my stuff out. And then when I came back, I sold the perfume, because I was like, I'm not going to use it. And then she was like, asked me where the perfume was, and then chucked me out again that same evening after moving it all back. And then I was like calling my mum and crying my eyes out at like 11 o'clock at night, saying she's chucked me out again. I had like 4 suit bags, like 2 suitcases. I dropped this. I can laugh about it now, but I dropped the suit bag case, which ripped the whole suitcase on like a bramble bush, where I was literally like one of them musicians that has the drums, the recorder, and the drum on the back.
We all know the ones.
And at that point, when I gone back, my mum said, you need to get back into badminton. You need to get yourself back playing again. And then obviously I was like 20, must have been like 27, 28, 29. Then I went ham with it back again, playing all Premier League, badminton. And then obviously, just kind of had a PT as well that I was paying for. And I loved it. Like since moving up from Brighton to Manchester, I was playing probably some of the best badminton that I've ever played in my life at that point. And every time I was playing tournaments and winning, getting like to like quarters, and like playing like silver circuit. There's like bronze, silver, and gold. Gold are like top probably 20 or 30. Like, you can still enter it if you've got ratings, but it's only like top 20, 30 in England. So I was playing like silvers. I played a gold. But yeah, I think sometimes in life, just in general, it sometimes takes something to sort of reignite that fire again, or in anyone in situations with like either like breakups, like marriages, and other sort of other mental health sort of situations, or just general adult life. It just sometimes takes something to kind of spark that again. And I thought, this is my time to take it all back up again, and then hit a home run with it. And then and as I said, like last 2 years, obviously playing 3 or 4 times a week still, and I'll be playing next season, be playing like circuits again, so silver circuits. I will be in a vet, because after 35 you become a vet. So I'm taking, but again, I'm enjoying it. I'm not taking it too seriously, but I still play 3 or 4 times a week. But I've got to a point where if I take it seriously, I end up going back down of like, it doesn't matter if my relationship, doesn't matter about work, it doesn't matter about anything else. All I care about is just playing at that level again. And I value, my priorities in my life are my fiance and having like normal life things, like maybe going on holiday or stuff like that. So it has changed, but it is hard to let go of the inner roots of you, where you want to be playing, training full time again. So it's taught me a lot.
What do you think the difference is now that you've had that diagnosis then, and you're now more aware of everything? What do you think the change is now that you're performing and you are able to join it? What's the difference there?
I'm not going to say like it's like I'm like cured or anything like that, because there is tendencies when you're on court, when you're in the zone, like you're each point, like you're winning, you're fired up. You're fired up because you want to win. I hate, regardless if I'm 60, 70, I hate losing. It's like when I come home, my mate goes, there's no point talking to me because I know you've lost, because I can just tell. And then obviously there's me coming in, going the door, like just being just me. And like she knows that I've won. But I think having the diagnosis has massively helped me to keep a consistent level of emotions. So I'm able to regulate my emotions more. I'm obviously having ADHD coaching at the moment, which helps me with breathing. Instead of like normally if you win a point or whatever, slowing that process down, because straight away you win a point, you want to go into the next point. And actually just taking 5 seconds to actually breathe before you actually serve. And if you don't lose a point, if you lose a point, just take that as part of the game.
Yeah.
Don't be so hung up on it. And yeah, silly mistakes, really. I think as you get older, you kind of realize that it's not the be all and end all in the game. It might mean something to you, but I think regulating emotions is so important, being diagnosed, and the medication. If I didn't have the medication before, I'd be up here in a minute and down here. And it's normally actually diagnosed as bipolar because you're so polar opposite. You're up here 1 minute, you're down here the next minute. And there's been a few people that have actually had diagnosis of bipolar, but they've actually had ADHD because there's so the up and down moods, and people sort of find it challenging to actually diagnose, like until they go to the doctors. So I think now I'm able to regulate my emotions. Like if I do get angry, that might be a few outbursts here and there, but it's not like to the level where like, I'm snapping 200-pound rackets and I can't be effing bothered with this sport anymore. And this like Hulk comes out of me. I'm able to sort of analyze my game and think, right, okay, next point, just take 5 seconds before you serve again. And I've been able to play better because I'm not, and you then end up seeing everyone else getting annoyed, and you kind of think, do you know what, you end up calming everyone else down, like just chill out, like you got this. But yeah, it's definitely massively helped to regulate my emotions and keep it more consistent.
Okay. So if there was somebody listening now, or somebody that might be thinking that somebody they know is going through what you did, what one piece of advice could you give them right now that would help them through, the challenges that they're going through that you've already experienced?
For me personally, depending on what age, but I think always get a diagnosis, even if you're uncertain, just to give you that clarity. Because once you do get a diagnosis, you got that feeling of it's not just me. It's the reason why that behaviour was the way it was is because of the ADHD, and you don't feel alone. It's kind of that relief. You've got ADHD. Bloody hell! I thought it was just me. Do you know what I mean? That kind of relief. I think breathing techniques are vital, and I think depending on the age, if you can actively talk about your emotions or feelings online, even just with short things, then there is loads of support on LinkedIn. I think it's probably the most humanized social media platform where people actually generally want to help each other, and also want to do things for other people without getting paid. And I think that's quite a beautiful thing in its own.
Yeah. How did you go about starting the diagnosis, just in case anybody is unsure?
Well, I was quite lucky because 5 years ago there wasn't a long waiting list. I was actually seen within 10 days. You can see if you use social media like TikTok or anything, I don't use that anymore, but there is a lot of like self-diagnosis if you got this. And I think a lot of people say, oh, I'm a little bit ADHD, or like it's hard to kind of, there's no I've got a little bit of ADHD. It's you've either got ADHD or you haven't. I think it's worth just going in there, but the diagnosis is very simple. I don't know if they have made it harder now. I know someone has done like a couple of like assessments because because it's something that's quite new-ish. They're doing a lot more processes now, but you do a questionnaire, like it says like, can you concentrate? And then you then obviously do the questionnaire, and then within 10 days I was seen, and then they obviously take it back to the psychiatrist, where they do actually go into deep, which is actually quite emotional because they're talking about your childhood. And I think sometimes talking about your childhood is not always the best experience, is it? Like going back then, and you don't remember much then. So get the diagnosis. It's very simple. If you can afford it, get private if you can. But if not, you can always message me and ask me about it. Or if you've heard the podcast, then happy to kind of direct you or support you in any way.
Yeah, awesome. And if we have any coaches here, especially coaches any coaches, to be fair, and we go back to 11, 12-year-old Tom, what advice would you give to a coach that might be dealing with a player on their team right now that has potentially ADHD, that hasn't been diagnosed, but after listening to this can see the signals? What would you advise those coaches knowing obviously that you didn't get the support, what would you give them to help them today?
Be reassuring. Like, don't just go, you're not doing it right. You know, this is not shot. You're not doing it. You're not getting it. I think you need to really think of how you'll communicate with people. Communication is key with not just ADHD, but neurodiverse people in general. So you saying love you might just for example might mean love you in a different way. And like, do you know what I mean? There's stuff like catch up meetings just in a more professional world that might actually mean you're going to sack me, like I've done something wrong. So I think being in a coaching space, communication is key. So give that reassurance, like saying, oh, don't worry, Tom, like you've got this, like go again. Not, you're not doing it right, you're not getting it, like you've done the same shot 3 or 4 times now, it's completely wrong, you're going in the sin bin or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I think it's sometimes actually just be a reassuring. And to be honest, with neurodiverse individuals and especially ADHDs, the one-on-one in group sessions, it's so hard for me to actually grasp. Take your time with people, like I'm communicating the right way and give them reassurance, and not just say you're doing it wrong and thinking that, well, they're worth nothing or they're never going to get it right. Just give them reassurance and communicate in the right way.
Yeah. And what I love about communication as well is you can learn it. There's I 2 fantastic books that I've read is How to Win Friends and Influence People and Never Split the Difference. And it just gives you a different approach to communication. So it can be learned, and understanding that all players are different, whether they have a diagnosis or not. What works for one player doesn't necessarily work for another. And a top coach will take the time to learn and understand that, to get the most out of every individual. Because as a coach, that should be the ultimate goal. Tom, if anybody did want to reach out to you, or anybody wanted to see your journey, or even, just down to the Hawkeye and learning a little bit more on that, where can they find you?
So yeah, the only place I am actually is on LinkedIn. So I don't have any other social media. So it's the only platform I use, LinkedIn. That's it. So if you want to message me on LinkedIn, look on the podcast, then happy for you to just drop me a message and I'll try and support or put you in the right direction if I can.
Yeah. And I believe on LinkedIn, though, you are Thomas, aren't you? You're Thomas Woodhams on LinkedIn.
Yeah, Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because they verified it because my passport says Thomas.
Yeah. No, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed that. I'm really glad that we've kind of got that topic out open more. And as the aim of the podcast is to help somebody, just one person that may be going through exactly what you did. Thank you for taking the time to share that story.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, mate. Obviously a massive fan anyway. So thanks for having me on.
No, amazing. If you've taken anything away from this session today, please remember a like, a share, subscribe goes a long way. Hopefully you've taken something away. And if you haven't, or if you have, but somebody else can, then please do pass on the podcast to them, because somebody needs to hear this. So as I love to remind you all before I leave, there is always another game. Have a great day, everyone. Cheers.